Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Well, after last night, light camera action. There we go. We need to get everything's out of proportion this morning, isn't it? Anyway, after last night, I think that we can all agree that Celtic need to get some more players in the door. It is all about the next game in the Champions League. We are through to the qualifiers. We're through to the We're through to the qualifiers. We've got 2 games to play against either Bayern Munich or Real Madrid. And when you look at it, it's a fantastic position to be in. We would rather be in that position than not. I mean, there's a lot better teams than Celtic that have been eliminated from the Champions League already. The players gave their all last night, except for, one or two, you could say, just aren't good enough. And that's the reality. We have to understand that the reality that the players were playing it last night. The reality is some of our players aren't good enough for the highest level. And we know this. But we have to take the positives. And the positive is that Brendan Rodgers once again was asked a question last night. Now this is rinse and repeat of the same scenario that happened in the summer. He was asked about taking it down to injury time, right at the end. And I don't even think that was fair. Do you think it was tangible evidence of the progress you guys as a team, as a club, have made at this level? He was asked, and would that be fair? Celtic have came on leaps and bounds in the Champions League. You have to remember that we only lost 2 games. And, for me, there's a lot of positives. The scoreline could have been worse. Yeah, paradigm's fine. It could have. It could have been better. You can't look at it. I mean, I'm not even going to go over it. And people having a dig at Brendan Rodgers, I just think is ridiculous. And you have to understand why he took. Let's talk about the game last night and why he took Adam Ida off. Adam Ida runs into the box, tries to get across into the box, about 2 or 3 minutes before he came off, and he looks at his calf and he feels his calf. Brendan Rodgers is thinking, we've got only one striker. There's 10 minutes to go in a Champions League game where at best we could draw. You've then got to think about the league. You do not risk keeping that striker on. With the fact that he's the only striker that we've got at the club at the moment. Bringing in another striker, other strikers generally don't hit the ground running in the first game. So, as a precaution, Brendan Rodgers did the right thing. It also gave the younger players, Dane Murray, Daniel Cummins, who were trying to get to sign another contract, it also gave them the feeling of playing in the Champions League and playing, and this is what you can achieve at Celtic. People saying that the young team were crap, the younger players were crap. Get a grip. I mean, this is young guys that are coming through the B team. As Dane Murray's been on loan. It was schoolboy errors that cost us. The schoolboy errors happened in the first 5 minutes. Let's not blame the young guys at the end of the game. Let's not blame the young guys. I mean, you can blame Dane Murray for his. Yes, you can. He was angry with himself, but it's their first game for Celtic. Can I just put it into perspective? Can we put it into perspective? Henrik Larsson comes on his very first game, an experienced player, not a young guy that's came through the system, an experienced player. He comes onto the pitch versus Hibs, gives the ball away and Hibs score. Everybody slates Henrik Larsson to a man. Said, who's this donkey with dreadlocks at Celtic? Chick Charnley's just scored a goal, just set up a goal for Hibs. And the rest to say is history. People are too quick to jump on a bandwagon of emotions. And I understand that after the game last night. Yes, you can jump on the bandwagon of emotions and say that the younger players were not up to it. But for a very first... Daniel Cummins made He's debuting in the Champions League for Celtic. And I think that if you want to bring players through, you have to throw them in at the deep end. You have to throw them in at the deep end. And and this is why we don't, and this is why Brendan Rodgers does not play younger players on a week-to-week basis. Because fans throw them under the bus if they do anything wrong. And that's wrong. That is wrong. You can't throw players that are coming through in their first games and coming into Celtic. You can't throw them under the bus like that. And some of the comments that I was reading last night, you're just like, come on, you've never played football in your life at a professional level. These guys that are coming through, the likes of Daniel Cummins and stuff, are coming. They've done this. They've done empty cells. Go read some of the comments. I'm not going on for no reason. I'm going on because I've read some of the comments, and I think that the comments have been ridiculous about the younger players. And I think throwing them under the bus. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. It's as simple as that. That's the way that I see it. When you look at it, Brendan Rodgers knows that we have to bring in other players. Brendan Rodgers said last night, I think it's obvious the objective coming in and being really competitive at this level. I think these 8 games we've built a really good foundation, which we have. When you see what we need to build the squad to be able to sustain the challenge in the Champions League. Now, we know we need better players in, but we also need to blood in some of our younger players. So far, Jota's been the only signing announcement to come in January. Before Rennes left for Kyogo left for Rennes, we allowed Alex Bailly to go out the door because the board promised Brendan Rodgers they would do everything to try and get Kieran Tierney in. The board are at the same situation that they were at the end of the summer transfer window. At the beginning of the summer transfer window, Brendan Rodgers laid out his plans. He laid out his plans on what he thought we needed at the club. Brendan Rodgers, I'm going to go over old ground here. Brendan Rodgers says we needed 2 strikers in the club. In the summer, we needed to buy 2 strikers. We didn't get 2 strikers in. We got Adam Idah. Everybody's been slating Adam Idah. There's not many people slating Adam Idah this morning, because without Adam Idah yesterday, and people saying, Kyogo would have scored their goals. Kyogo doesn't have the physical prowess that Adam Idah had to hold off the defenders, but it is what it is. There's no Adam Idah haters this morning, but we need to strengthen the squad, and we also need to bring in the younger players. And I think some of the comments that were throwing the younger players under the bus were ridiculous, and that's my opinion. It's called the One Celtic Fans View. If you don't like the opinion, well, we can all agree to disagree. But playing a boy who's never played in the first team in the Champions League, come on, mate. Jim McClarty, did you see the squad? Have you seen the squad? Did you see the squad? I mean, we could put the squad back up. I mean, people need to get a grip. But Brendan Rodgers went into that game last night with one hand tied behind his back. And there's Adam Idah, and there's Big Adam scoring one of his goals. Let's get the... Let's get the team back up. When you look at the bench, right? Who did we have to bring on as a striker? We've got 1 striker at the club. Of course, you're going to bring on somebody for the B team. We had no option. When you look at the bench, you've got Bain, you've got Palmer, you've got McCowan, you've got Norobski, you've got Bernardo. McCowan came on, Bernardo came on, experienced players. You've then got Montgomery, you've got Murray, Dane Murray, who's our only backup. Are you going to bring Norobski on? Because he's going to... You can't trust him with anything. And then you've got Daniel Cummins as our second choice striker. People need to look at the squad and say, it's Brendan's fault. Look at the squad. We're down to threadbare squad. And people say, we've got a cracking squad at the beginning of the season. Well, where's that cracking squad now? When you look at the players that we had to bring on, people have to just have a bit of realisation. Baz says about Arthur Johnson and Calmack, the main players in the team. Anyone having a youth player is nuts. I don't think they're having a youth player. The club have done more than enough time to get another striker in, but as usual, they drag their feet. Exactly. The people upstairs are to blame. We need to get off the players back. For fuck's sake, we progressed, and that's what we wanted. We have to be proud of the boys. And so I just think that some of the comments, and I understand, we all go with emotion. I mean, I had all sorts of emotions the first half of the game anyway, because my TV keeps cutting it, the app that I had. But I just think that we need to put things into perspective. And looking at that team, that tells you everything that we needed to know. That was not a strong squad. Going into the final Champions League game, I want to know, Brendan Rodgers said that Kyogo pushed the narrative to get the move before the Champions League game. Kyogo wanted away before the most important game of Celtic's, I would say, the last 20 years. This is how much I rated that game last night. But when you've got one hand tied behind your back, Cameron Carter-Vickers missing again for a Champions League game. He's been missing at the start of the season for the last 3 seasons, I think, when it comes to Champions League. Cameron Carter-Vickers gets the fear when he hears the Champions League music it comes to the sound of. You know, rather than having a dig at the younger players, start asking questions about why Kyogo pushed the narrative to get away before this game. Why couldn't he have waited till today? He could have flew out today quite easily and went to Rennes, but he wanted away, and he's wanted away for some time. You could also then put into the narrative also that Dyson Maeda is wanting away. Dyson Maeda kicking out at a player, something that, why did he do that? Why did he do that? And gets himself banned for 2 games. And then you've got Rio Hatate, who generally takes the huff. You never know which Rio Hatate is going to turn up for games. You never know which Rio Hatate is going to turn up for games. He's either in the mood or not in the mood. Now you could say, oh, these are Ange Postecoglou players and they don't like Brendan. That's pish. They're professionals, right? You do your job. You're paid to do your job. And when you're paid to do your job, you do it and the fact that I keep going over the comment that Kyogo forced the issue. Kyogo forced the issue with the move. He wanted the move. He forced the issue. Celtic had known about it for a number of months, and he forced the issue. That's Brendan Rodgers' exact words. And I think that that's the type of thing that needs to be questioned, and not younger players coming through that want to ultimately be at the club. And that's a cracking picture of big Adam Ida, isn't it? But anyway, we move on, and we are in the knockout phase. We are in the playoffs. We're not in the knockout phase, we're in the playoffs. Celtic are looking at another left back because that prick down in Arteta isn't going to let Kieran Tierney away by the looks of it, and it looks like that Celtic are keeping tabs on Manchester United left back Terrell Buyaka. Anyway, I think that it's a weird situation. It's a weird situation that Celtic have allowed Alex Bailly to leave the club. My understanding was that Celtic would not allow Alex Bailly to leave the club unless we had someone lined up. Now, they've obviously thought the fact that they've got Kieran Tierney on a pre-contract, which is fine. I'm happy enough with that, but we've not got anybody that's coming in right now, so why let him go? And this nonsense that Barcelona recalled him. Barcelona did not recall Alex Bailly. Celtic ended because they thought they were getting someone else in quick. Anyway, a big shout out to all the Celtic fans that were there last night. Whilst the Birmingham mob were singing the national anthem of Britain, funnily enough, God Save the King. The Green Brigade and the fans that were there last night were singing Lizzie's in a Box, and you can shove your coronation up your arse, which I thought was fantastic by the fans and funny. And then a banner put up with Michael Fagan, "We feel your loss." So you got to look at Celtic fans for having a good laugh. But anyway, it is still the case that Celtic are in talks with the Brøndby striker. Matthias Vidsgarden, and I understand that the Danish club are looking for the best party between 10 and 14 million. When you look at that, Celtic need to get their finger out. Once again, the Celtic hierarchy are hindering Brendan Rodgers in unbelievable fashion. They waited far too late in the summer window, and they've done it again. Celtic fans attacked the Villa end. Celtic fans attacked the Villa end, did they? Well, Stephen Kelly, you know more than me because I've never seen that. But anyway, Mr. Quinn, I seen your message. I hope it all went okay with the lumps in your throat. Hope it went okay at the doctor's this morning. Anyway, Adam Ida reached the heights last night of a Celtic striker that has got a lot to prove. And now the fact that Adam Ida is our main striker for the next few days, unless we buy someone else in, it was arguably, last night was one of Adam Ida's best performance in a Celtic strip. Going back to the Scottish Cup final, I think this season is definitely his best performance, and I think it demonstrated that he has the ability to deliver when it matters. And people saying that Adam Ida has been the biggest waste of money, well, there's a lot of people watching Adam Ida last night going after the game, hold my pint, and I'm away to score a few goals for Celtic. The fact that Kyogo has left and Adam Ida came in with a £9 million fee after Norwich grabbed us by the short in Curlies, and the Celtic hierarchy, knowing the Celtic hierarchy for me at this point, we can give them all the praise. We can give the Celtic hierarchy all the praise when it comes to the finances and it comes to bringing in players that are of a better quality. But there are times that we have to make sure we keep the pressure on the board. There was a Green Brigade banner out in 2019, don't fall asleep at the wheel. And it's still to this day, is the Celtic hierarchy falling asleep at the wheel. There's no one else to blame for... There would never be a situation under the previous manager where we would sell a player before having the next player in beforehand. So the Celtic hierarchy fell asleep at the bus, fell asleep at the wheel with this one. I think the casual ultras Facebook Celtic fans were attacked by Villa fans. I have no idea. No idea at all. The board need to get the finger out and back Brendan. Yes, they do that. It's not that. I want to listen to what Callum said. That's Seb Fabregas. No, that's Brendan. I was going to double check because I got a... The Matthias story is gathering pace. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Matthias flying into Scotland to either tonight or tomorrow. Wouldn't be surprised at all if the Brøndby striker flew in the next few hours. And why is this just frozen? Come on. And let's jump into the comments whilst I'm waiting on that. I don't know what's going on with that. And there it's there. Notifications. Update. It's just on about the loan. It's just on about a loan. God. Champions League knockout stages. Monaco Brest versus PSG or Benfica. Sporting Club Brugge versus Atalanta. Dortmund. That's you would want Sporting or Club Brugge, wouldn't you? Celtic have got the group of death when it comes to this draw. You've got Feyenoord, Juventus against AC Milan or PSV Eindhoven, or you've got Celtic and Man City versus Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Let's talk about that. Let's get back onto the positives and the fact that we are in the knockout phase, playoff round of 16. We are in the playoff round. Let's be honest. There's a very slim. We're on to a hiding, aren't we? We're on to a hiding with it. We're on to a hiding. Scrambling around signings, a few days to go. I need to get the fingers out earlier. Jamesy boy, I've been saying it for weeks now. I mean, it's Liam's anyone still pissed? I think there's quite a lot of Celtic fans who'll be still pissed. Let's look at the positives. Do you want to go to Germany? If we go to Germany, we will. Oh, Jesus. Or do you want to head back to Madrid and take your chances with a team that's on fire? I think both teams, when you look at it, it would have been more beneficial if we got them at the beginning of the Champions League. Was Tisdale not brought in to take charge of acquisitions? Says Stevie B. No change in how we bring targets. He can take charge of acquisitions, but the negotiations come down to Nicholson. The negotiation part comes down to Nicholson. Tisdale has nothing to do with negotiations. He cannot negotiate and get players in quick. It comes down to one person. And it's Michael Nicholson. And Michael Nicholson, again, is dragging his heels when it comes to Celtic. But it is what it is, and I'm sure we'll get players in. Feyenoord beat Bayern 3-0. They are beatable. Yes, they are. They are beatable. And I would say that Real Madrid are beatable also. 10 mil cash, 1 mil add-on, 15% selling. That meets their 14 million valuation. Come on, Celtic, even if I can work that one out. I don't think that's the big one. Scales will rip Harry Kane to shreds, says Liam. Liam is definitely still drunk. Baz, what about the ban on the away game? Do these people not realise that the damage they're doing throwing smoke bomb and pyro? I'm not going to talk about that until it's come out on what UEFA will do, and if there is a ban, we will then get back to the situation where there will be a ban on a section at Celtic Park. I don't want that to happen. I really don't want that to happen. But you're right. If I'm not going to comment any more on it because I'm going to wait until the authorities have made the decisions, and there's no use really talking about it until we know exactly what the position is of Celtic and the authorities. But at the end of the day, if there is a ban, I'm not going to be too happy about it because I know a lot of guys that go to every single away game. I've spoken about this before. I know guys that have went to away games in Europe for the best part of 40 years and still go. It is not all the young Green Brigade that are the dominant factor at away games. You know, I was seeing videos on my WhatsApp and on my personal Facebook of guys at the game last night that go to every game, that spend a fortune. And those are the ones that are going to be indirectly impacted by the behaviour of all fans at an away game. Do you think we'll get a striker in for Sunday? I hope so. I'm not really too fussed about Sunday. I think we'll definitely get one in on Monday. Celtic tend not to do business at the weekend, which is the scary part for me. Celtic don't like. I think Michael Nicholson's a Monday to Friday guy, and he's like, "Fucking that! It's weekend. I'm doing nothing. I don't get paid for this shit." But mate, you do. Normalising banning fans is never going to be the norm. It's only pocket change. Take charge and let the fans know what matter. We're going to get embarrassed no matter who we play next week. The way Brendan Rodgers sets up, plus the arrogance, he doesn't know how to defend against these two teams. Were you saying that against the Atalanta game? Come on, mate. You cannot blame Brendan Rodgers for that last night. When the players go onto the pitch, why on earth was Liam Scales so far up the pitch for the second goal? Why was Liam Scales almost at their box for the second, allowing that massive space? I'm not getting into an argument about that because I think that nobody was complaining Nobody was complaining about Brendan Rodgers' tactics. Look how many games we've lost in this Champions League. We've got 12 points in the Champions League. We've done better than any manager for a long, long time. We've been unbeaten. We've had an unbeaten run in the Champions League for a while. So I just think people are thinking with emotion rather than thinking with a clear head and thinking about the team that we had, the squad that we had last night, and the fact that we had to rely on 4 B team players or whatever it was. The Green Brigade will think that they're better than the fans. Folk have been supporting Celtic 50 years. Time to ban the wee clowns. Scales is Starfelt in disguise. I would say that Carl Starfelt was actually better than Scales. I'd say that. But anyway, it is what it is. When you look at it, let's get some more. It's going to be a fantastic, whoever we get, it's going to be one of those nights that you want to remember, and it's going to be a game where you're going to buy the ticket no matter what. If it's Real Madrid again at Celtic Park, if it's Bayern Munich at Celtic Park, you're buying tickets and you're going to games. If whatever one we get away, Celtic fans will travel in big numbers. They always do. It says Scotland gets a wee bit of stick for its football, says Brendan Rodgers. We've nowhere near the resources of teams in the Premier League, but we can still be competitive, says Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers was proud. Brendan Rodgers was proud of the players last night, considering you could even say, look at the average wage of a Celtic player compared to the average wage of the players that played for Aston Villa.
I really enjoyed it. I think playing different teams, going to different cities. I think it's been really, really good. I'm pretty sure there was probably a real level of excitement tonight with people watching on the screens and who they might get and everything else. You sense the supporters there after the game. Aston Villa qualifying into the top 8, so it's a great occasion for them. So yeah, I've really enjoyed the variance in the games, the different levels, and but every game at this level is really tough, and I'm just proud of how we've performed, because Scotland gets a wee bit of stick in its football. I think you can clearly see that we have teams that have got courage to play. We're nowhere near the resource levels of any teams in the Premier League, but we can still be competitive, and that's what you want to be. So the format has been really good. I've really enjoyed it, and we'll now get ready for the next challenge.
Yeah, the next challenge is one of the bigger teams in Europe that's going to come to Celtic Park. Brendan Rodgers talking about, and the English like to call it the Farmers League. The English, and even Rangers fans that play and go to games in Scotland, they call it a Farmers League. Rangers can fuck off down south. They fight everywhere, everywhere they go. And it was good to see Celtic fans enjoying themselves yesterday before the game. Anyway, we did ourselves proud. That is the main thing, and especially with the reduced squad. See you in Munich, lad. I want to go back to travel. We're banned now. I'm not too sure if we're going to be banned. The penalty would have made it 3. Oh, what were you watching? Brendan Rodgers here to stay. I don't know. I don't know what. I'm just trying to go through the chat because I think it's. I think some of the chat is hilarious, but it is what it is. Bring them all on. Bring them on. It's no problem. At the end of the day, Celtic are in the next phase of the Champions League, and I think that all that matters is that we get some. All that matters now. The reality. It's all it is on to the next game of the Champions League. Let's get back to the main job, and the main job is winning the SPFL. People need to remind themselves of that. Our bread and butter is winning the league. All right, winning the league. The Champions League is great. We're never ever going to be up there unless something you can have if we have a really good season. If we had won 2 of the games that we had drawn, we would have been in the top 8. Simple as that. And then you have teams like Manchester City who were struggling throughout the Champions League. You have teams like Real Madrid who were struggling at the beginning of the Champions League. You need all these teams to have an off at the beginning of the Champions League. And I think that then Celtic need to capitalise on the chances that we had. And I think if we had won 2 of the games that we had drawn, we'd been top 8. It's as simple as that. And nobody would be arguing about a crazy scoreline from Aston Villa, because it was a game that in reality at the start of the season, it's a game that I thought that we would get beat, or maximum a draw. I thought at the beginning of the Champions League campaign, I thought that was a game that we could potentially get a draw at best because of the resources and everything else. When you looked at the other teams, I thought, yeah, there's a bit in it. The Champions League's a bonus to Celtic. It adds around about £30 million to the coffers. This year it's going to add more. It's paramount that we get back in the team, and really looking forward to these younger players that are coming through. Because if you want to start slating the players that are coming through the system, guys that have done this day in, day out since they were 7, 8, 9-year-old or whatever, maybe even younger, and they've had one dream and one dream only, is to pull on their hoops. And then you get some people say, oh, he's fucking shite, he's fucking pish, man. Wake up and smell the coffee. That's what I say. Because I hope that when you go into work today, your boss turns around and goes, you are fucking useless at your job. In fact, quite a few people say it to you, because that's karma. Anyway, have a fantastic day, folks. I am off. Missing forwards, I put pressure on the keeper. Don't know how much time was wasted with the ball, but their goalkeeper is just standing. It was that. 2 daft mistakes cost us. That was it. Yeah, it was 2 mistakes. And I would even say that the majority of the mistakes happened at the beginning of the game. Make sure you join me at 8 p.m. Celtic Park time tonight, where we can talk even more about the permutations of who we will get in the draw tomorrow. The draw is at 11 o'clock Celtic Park time, 12 o'clock Central European time, and whatever time around the world, who knows. We will be live for that draw as always. And then we'll wait on the press conference from Brendan Rodgers later on that afternoon, where he'll talk about the draw and maybe even talk about the game of the weekend, and hopefully some incoming players. Hopefully today's the day that Celtic finally get their finger at their arse and get a move on. It is the day that I predicted that Celtic would ultimately, Brendan Rodgers would say, right, do you want to fucking hurry up now, because there's only a few days left of the transfer window and we need strength back in the squad. Strength that we do not have just now. And on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the